Yo, what's up guys? Back here with another YouTube intro. Today we're going to be keeping it short. So this is like post-editing, Joe, where I'm like editing the video together right now. As you can see, I got my eggs, I got my breakfast, I got my ham. I'm eating right now as we're kind of editing this video. But yeah, guys. So this video, we're going to be going over a team report with our boy, Genius VGC. Obviously, he won the X-Lang League Championship, so super, super awesome dude. And yeah, make sure to enjoy the video, guys. Make sure to check out all the links down below. Make sure to check out his socials. And yeah, we'll get straight into it. We'll go right into our first mon right about now. So here we are with the first mon, Incineroar. So yeah, what was the logic with like Incineroar here and kind of like what you were trying to do with it? It's pretty straightforward, but like what was kind of your idea with the spread and everything?
This is a standard Incineroar. I took the spread from the VGC19 Ultra Series to also Sun Series and Moon Series. Is the standard spread that survive +2 Xerneas Moonblast.
Mhm.
And I choose to put the Citrus Berry over the Assault because Kartana occupy that item. And I prefer Citrus over Pinch Berries because they are nerfed in this generation. And because the Citrus Berry allows Incineroar to take 3 KOs from some attack.
So the main point of this Incineroar then was pretty much just to like live Xerneas hits. You don't really need much defense, I guess, because like you have Intimidate already, anyways. And like
Yeah.
the moveset is pretty straightforward, right? Like Snarl's pretty much to deal with Calyrex, I'm assuming.
So one of the plan is to lead Incineroar Amoonguss or just Snarl and Spore, because one you can at least one of these things, because indeed or will use Helping Hand or Follow Me and not both.
Mm.
So Calyrex go to sleep or Calyrex goes to -1.
Right, yeah. So basically, main point of Incineroar, takes Xerneas hits well, able to disrupt with Parting Shot Snarl, very good for Calyrex. Citrus Berry is a little bit better than Pinch Berry, basically because obviously it can prevent the basically like pinch berries, like they are kind of nerfed in this generation, so where they don't recover as much to where they're worthwhile. Citrus Berry can prevent things from being 2-hit KOs, which is more worthwhile than pinch berries. So yeah, so that will be Incineroar for us. Yeah, so here we are with Amoonguss. Amoonguss, obviously, just a very solid mon for redirection. Spore. What's interesting about this Amoonguss to me is honestly the sash, and like obviously the EVs are just kind of centered around bulk. The way Amoonguss is still running is really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, what was the logic behind like kind of the spread and like the going min speed as opposed to maybe like timid with like tailwind on the
Yeah.
Tornadus?
So, the Amoonguss is a really bulky Pokemon, as you mentioned it before, and it doesn't have I didn't calculate for specific attack because I choose to put the sash on Amoonguss just
Mm-hmm.
to take every Airstream, every Glacial's attack, every Flare Blitz from Incineroar at +1 maybe, or everything. And I choose to put Slash Bomb over Clear Smog because I thought that in this metagame Xerneas isn't common as the other ones, and there aren't a lot of setup, so I just need Slash Bomb to hit hard Rillaboom and other mon that could deal damage on Kyogre. And I thought about it to choose the timid Amoonguss with max speed,
Mm-hmm.
but every time that I think that I thought about the Trichrono matchup, and then I go with the standard spread
Mm-hmm.
with min speed and zero EVs to underspeed everything under
Right.
three.
So it gives you a trick room matchup essentially. So you're not like kind of stuck versus trick room. It gives you a way to kind of have like speed control, basically to be
Yeah.
able to like stop that.
The focus sash also allows my opponent have to double up Among Us to just
Hmm.
one shot it.
Yeah, so it's like the extra pressure to like have to double target the Amoonguss to get the kill on it. Otherwise, it's threatening like a spore, or like a rage powder or something, right?
Yeah,
Like that's the main
basically.
issue. Yeah, that makes total sense. And what I think was like really interesting about what Amoonguss serves on this team is like it has so much synergy with the rest of your team. Like obviously, Rage Powder is great for Kyogre because you can like Rage
Yeah.
Powder Water Spout, right? But yeah, so pretty much Amoonguss redirection, Sludge Bomb over Clear Smog primarily for Rillaboom. Able to deal with Rillaboom better. Xerneas isn't as common. Obviously, Rage Powder, Spore Pressure, really good for the rest of this team. Go. All right, so for the Kartana here, what was the EV spread for? Obviously, we have an Assault Vest, right, which is pretty decent for Kartana's bulk. All Kartanas run this, so the item kind of makes sense. But what was the logic with the EV spread?
The logic behind this UV spread was that Kartana need a soul vest, so he needs some HP and some special defense. And I choose to go for max speed to avoid losing from other Kartana, especially in the mirror match. And it paid off because the first time was only faster enough to outspeed an illegal, but then I
Hmm.
chose to maximize it.
Yeah, just to be good versus other Kartanas, and that makes sense. And what was the choice for Aerial Ace over Guillotine? Was there a specific reason why you wanted to do that? Or is there a reason why you had Aerial Ace over Guillotine?
Yeah, guillotine of it is a very strong move when you are desperate and you have to click it to win. But I choose a
Hmm.
release mainly because of the boosting speed, the teammates boosting for boosting the teammates speed, especially Kyogre. So I just could have a scarf Kyogre without the scarf.
Right,
Mm.
right. So it was like more consistent, and the speed boost would stay on the Kyogre, like even if, for example, you KO'd something. Yeah, so with Kyogre over here, I guess the main question first is like kind of what was the EV spread for? Because I see you're a little bit invested in HP, you're a little bit invested in defense, and like obviously you're not that invested in special attack, and like you have a lot of speed. So like, what was the reasoning for that?
The reason was that I want the maximum speed but not timid Kyogre, so I could outspeed literally everything under Tailwind or with an Electro Web.
Hmm.
For special attacker enough to take a lot of KOs under the rain thanks to the Mystic Water that boosts the water type attacks and with the stab obviously. And the physical defense and HP spreads are for take Grassy Glide from really booming in grassy terrain without Miracle Seed or Choiceman. So basically the household set.
Right, yeah. So basically able to do like a bunch of damage there. Yeah. So and what was the what was the reasoning for the choice of like Mystic Water as opposed to like a different boosting item? Was it just so you could get stronger water moves because of the rain? Like what was the logic there?
Yeah, only because I wanted to boost my water type moves. I saw some people run Life Orb Kyogre, but I don't like it because you lose HP,
Mm-hmm.
so your
That weakens your
the
water
power
spouts. Yeah.
your weaken your water spell. Yeah, and I have only Ice Beam so as other move, so Mystic Water was the better option.
Right, yeah. And like that definitely makes sense because you don't want to be dealing damage to yourself, especially if you're using it with water spout to try and like deal a bunch of damage. So you're probably trying to avoid doing that to yourself anyway. So that makes like a bunch of sense. I guess
Yeah.
the main final question then would be like with the amount of Zacian and Lapras, like if you were able to go back and if you were able to change something, would you potentially run like Thunder over maybe Water Spout, or would you run Thunder as coverage even for other Kyogres? Like what? How do you feel about Thunder in those four moves?
I probably choose Thunder over Ice Beam in this case. I will never leave one of the two water type moves,
Mm-hmm.
and Ice Beam is the most common option to remove for put a Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Even with my run, that Ice Beam never KOs that Amoonguss
Mm-hmm.
in the finals. So yeah, Thunder
Right.
maybe was a better option for all the Lapras.
Right. So you could actually deal some like damage to them. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And like it's kind of interesting, right? Because like that ice beam coverage is still nice for grass types, but if you're not picking up the KO, it's not going to make too much of a difference, right? To where like it may even be
Yeah.
optimal go for your water moves. So
It was for real a boomer Amoonguss. You can take Rusty Glide, so you can Ice Beam in the back.
with Tornadus over here, we can actually see that it's pretty bulky and it's pretty speedy. And also has an interesting item which we'll get to. But like, what was the logic with the EVs on this Tornadus?
The logic about these EVs are that tornadoes need to be as fast as possible, so you just go max speed, and yeah, to really to stay in on the field if you can to just reset up Tailwind another time. So
Hmm.
I just maximize his bulk with 244 for the item, I choose Mental Herb because I was worried about down to Whimsicott or
Mm-hmm.
down to Tornadus in the mirror. So I just could Icy Wind and do another move against the other Tornadus, and then put a Tailwind for having one turn of Tailwind in plus.
Right, yeah. So basically it was like so that you wouldn't be basically it was just so that you wouldn't like in the mirror you wouldn't have to rely on a speed tie, which is like obviously famously unreliable because that's literally a coin flip. So like having a more consistent way to consistently win is kind of important there, right? And
And with the
go ahead. Go
and,
ahead.
and with the open team list, they will never taunt you, so it's good.
Yeah, no, for sure. And one thing that I thought was interesting was kind of the move choice. So I know like Rain Dance is sometimes something people use on Tornadus, along with Protect, and like Protect is good for stalling out Fake Out. Is there a reason why you didn't want to utilize either one of those two moves, or maybe that you didn't go with Protect? Like, what was the main logic there?
The main logic was, as I was said, I was saying that I wanted Icy Wind to make a lot of speed control, but you can run Protect if you like it, so you can lead against the
Mm-hmm.
fake out users. Rain Dance in this moment of the meta, I don't think is good because there aren't a lot of Groudon, so you can choose Icy Wind or Protect that are better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. And then like obviously like because you're not worried about that, it kind of removes the value of Rain Dance, right? If there's no competition for your weather anyways. So that yeah, that makes a ton of sense there. And like obviously the taunt's like great too for like shutting down stuff like Amoonguss, so that's just like pretty useful. But yeah. So like yeah, basically Icy Wind and like Protect are kind of almost preference then in that way, I'm guessing. Because you know, you can either choose to like, okay, I'm better in the mirror or I'm better versus like Fake Out. So here we are with Regieleki. Regieleki, obviously, just a pretty staple mon in like most formats. Its speed is obviously its biggest asset, and like Magnet obviously lets it power up its electric moves. But I guess the main question here would be kind of like, what was the synergy with Regieleki with like the team with Kyogre maybe?
But Regieleki is a must in this team, I think, because with Electroweb you can just water spout all the opponents with the -1 in speed, thanks to dynamic speed. And I don't have protect on Tornadus, so if I can't lead with my Tailwind, I can lead with Regieleki and
Mm-hmm.
double protect, and then Electroweb plus Water Spout is
Mm-hmm.
a common plan against Tundurus or Zapdos or whatever Pokemon that with an Airstream couldn't
Mm-hmm.
outspeed the same Regieleki.
So in this section of the video, we are going to be going through different matchups and kind of how it was approached. Basically, the main helpful part of this is that obviously it tells you guys kind of how to pilot teams versus certain matchups. So yeah, this was one of the teams that Genius had actually ended up playing against. Solgaleo version. This is actually one that Marco Fiora used. Obviously, open team sheet, so we have the benefit of being able to see what was exactly used in the sets. So yeah, so for you, like, kind of how did you approach this matchup? Like, what were the difficult parts of the matchup, and what were the like what did you want to do to kind of be able to beat this?
Okay, so the first thing that I think about this team where I saw it was that I had to stop Solgaleo Spectre in the lead, and I couldn't go for Amoonguss Kyogre as
Mm-hmm.
I did in the last round of Swiss against Giulio, that also had a
Mm-hmm.
Solgaleo team, because Giulio hadn't the electric type move. In this case, we have a Wild Charge Solgaleo, so I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't spore Solgaleo. And then I found myself to go for to with Regieleki Kartana, just to Electroweb and Steel Spike the Spectre slot, so I could just read the KO Spectre and boost my defense. Or
Mm-hmm.
if probably Marco Fiero had switched out Spectre and put it, I don't know, Incineroar, I could just Airstream and put Kyogre in the turn before, in the turn after.
Mm-hmm. Right. So basically, it was kind of getting yourself at the position where you were able to kind of like run through the team. Obviously, you have to be wary of Solgaleo because Solgaleo is pretty bulky in general as a mon. So obviously, I'm sure that was like a little bit difficult to work around. How was the Rotom Wash? I know you have Kartana, which probably helps versus it, but like if the Kartana was removed, like did you have much for Rotom Wash? Like kind of was that something that came through your mind in the matchup or something you were worried about? Really?
I wasn't worried about Rotom because of my Kartana and my Regieleki. I was
Mm-hmm.
worried more about Moltres that they
Mm-hmm.
never broke. And nothing. Rotom, I could hit Rotom with Kartana or
Mm-hmm.
Regieleki, and also with the Kyogre Water Spout,
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of damage. The same if Rotom didn't max.
Right.
So I was worried about only Spectrum Solgaleo and maybe
Mm-hmm.
Amoonguss, but with my Goose Kartana, it, I was in a good spot.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes total sense. So yeah, basically, main thing was kind of using your Regieleki and Kartana then to kind of like position around this team. Obviously, dealing with Solgaleo is pretty important early on, so that it can't be too threatening. And obviously, taking advantage, I'm sure, of your Kyogre as well to kind of like deal serious damage on the team is probably helpful as well. Yeah, so here we are with one of the matchups that Genius actually told me was one of the toughest matchups for him to face. He'll probably get into more of that. But what was so difficult about this matchup, and like why was this so like difficult for the team to deal with?
This matchup was practically an auto loss because the Lapras with Rillaboom and Regieleki together, and also Ho that had the safety goggles, and I couldn't Rage Powder and redirect the attack of Ho on the Amoonguss.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't do anything in the game one against the Weeble Wolves that run this team. I found myself with only Kyogre against Lapras in 1v1, and I couldn't do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And in game two, he played really well with the reliable range, like
Mm-hmm.
he get rid of my Kartana instantly, and the Kartana was the only answer
Mm-hmm.
with the Regieleki against all the team. But reliable Regieleki, Lapras Gmax,
Yeah.
and even Grimson with Trick Lagging Tail that he didn't broke, but that was scary. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
make the thing a lot of difficult for my team.
Yeah. So for someone playing against this, like if they played against this team with your team, like what would you advise is like the approach to this, or at least some way to be able to try and beat the opponent, like if it was like difficult, or like how they would try and beat it.
I think you have to lead something Rillaboom, Incineroar, Regieleki, and then Electroweb and Parting Shot the Lapras with Kartana in the back, and maybe don't bring Kyogre in this case,
Mm-hmm.
and just win with Amoonguss, Kartana, Incineroar, Regieleki if you can,
Mm-hmm.
because Kyogre is the better answer against Toho.
Mm-hmm.
But there is Rillaboom, Regieleki, and Lapras that
Which all threaten
are
it, right? So
again, Kyogre can do anything to them.
right, yeah, that makes total sense. And
So
that's maybe too where Thunder would have been helpful here because at least you would have at
yeah,
least been able to hit like Lapras, you know.
yeah,
Um,
Thunder in this case could be a really a good choice.
mhm.
Maybe with Thunder you could win this matchup without is nearly an auto loss.
Yeah. So that makes sense, yeah. So basically, like, obviously, this matchup isn't super great, which is why we wanted to touch on it so that you guys would at least get a bit of an understanding of, like, why this matchup is so tough for the current team. Yeah, so here we are with Lapdog. Obviously, Lapdog, one of the big shining stars of this tournament. We did see a lot of Lapras plus Zacian, which was, like, kind of crazy considering, like, it kind of almost came out of nowhere for a lot of people. A lot of people weren't expecting it. Lenderson and Incineroar making a little more sense, obviously, creating extra bulk on the team, which is pretty helpful for it. But yeah, obviously, Genius, you played a lot of this during Swiss, so I'm sure you were used to this matchup at a certain point. So like, what was your main like strategy to be able to like beat this and kind of like power through this matchup where you were able to like beat it so many times?
Okay. Uh, my main answer to this team were to just make Kyogre faster than the Zacian and Tapu Koko with Electro Web from Regieleki or Max Stream for Kartana.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people a lot of players that were used this kind of team had Adamant Zacian, so my Kyogre could outspeed it with one Electro Web.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't outspeed Zacian, Jolly Zacian, you have to put Timid Kyogre for this case. And ignore Lapras totally until the end of the game
Mm-hmm.
and take care of it with Kartana air on the Regieleki. Amoonguss is the sponge in this case to just redirect all the attacks and keep safe and alive the fragile mon as Kartana and Regieleki that you need
Mm-hmm.
alive. And if they add Rillaboom, you have to bring Incineroar instead of one of Amoonguss or Regieleki, I think. Maybe Amoonguss in this case. Because,
Mm-hmm.
um, or you can not bring Kyogre if you can, but I prefer not. I prefer to bring the Uber slot where I can,
Right,
when I can.
yeah. To like be able to have Kyogre in the matchup is like very important because like obviously too I just think Kyogre is like very good at pressuring majority of these mons like Zacian, Landorus, Coco, and Incineroar all get hit hard by Kyogre, assuming it's in the right position, right? And like I think this is actually another instance where like if you had Thunder Kyogre, the matchup would be even better, right? Because like you'd just be able
Yeah,
to hit
because
everything, right?
there was also the electric terrain that helped my Regieleki in the
Mm-hmm.
first case, and also obviously Kyogre if I had Thunder, but I don't have it. With Thunder, the matchup is even easier, I think, because without I found myself to have a lot of problems against this kind of team.
Mm-hmm.
In testing, also because of Landorus that FevZ and FaZe never brought, but he could Dynamax and Quake to boost the special defense, to get rid of my Regieleki, intimidate my Kartana. Maybe they could have won the game with the Landorus.
Mm-hmm.
But better for me that they never brought it.
Right, yeah, of course. And like I mean Landers is a little scary to bring into it anyways, right? Because obviously
Kyogre, so you can't bring Landorus, but you
Mhm.
bring Incineroar, so why not Landorus?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, 100%. It's just like a little scary, I guess, because like at least Incineroar has the option of like fake out, right? But like sometimes
Also
Landers
for
feels like it can
Among Us,
get caught out of
maybe.
position, but like yeah, for sure.
Also for Among Us, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, yeah, that makes total sense. But yeah, so basically, like in this matchup, it just seems like water spouts were really powerful. Obviously, just being able to deal with the Lapras with Kartana, Regieleki, pretty solid as well. And then obviously Amoonguss is just helpful too, so that makes a
Yeah,
bunch
yeah,
of
Among
sense.
Us is the best in this matchup.
No, for sure.
They could have Ferrothorn as Dave that
Mm-hmm.
lost in top four against FaZe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I probably would have lost the final if Dave was my opponent,
Mm-hmm.
because he had the Lapras, the Cian, Ferrothorn, and
Mm-hmm.
Landorus, if I remember correctly,
Right.
and that was really 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 hard to win.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes total sense. But yeah. So then basically, main part of this matchup, utilizing your Kyogre, kind of positioning yourself correctly with the Regieleki and Kartana, and also using Amoonguss to kind of leverage your advantage in this matchup. Yeah, so for this final part of the video, basically, just wanted to give Genius the opportunity to shout out anyone that helped him along the way. Also, to just give any final thoughts on this team and kind of how this team functions or any thoughts. So do you have any thoughts about it that you wanted to share or like anyone you wanted to thank for your success?
Okay, so I want to thank my Italian friends, especially Luca Ceribelli, Daniel Pioppi, and Gabriele Mocciaro that helped me to bring this team and to help me testing the various matchups for the top cut teams. And I want to also tell the people that see in this video that I have a graphic account on
Mm-hmm.
Twitter. It's called Genius Graphics. If you want some graphics for Twitch or a logo or a graphic for your brand, don't hesitate to contact me.
And that will
And
be linked below as well. That will definitely be linked below in the
thank you,
description.
Joe.
So,
And regarding the team, I think that I will not use this team for a while because now uh, it will be counted a lot.
mm-hmm.
And if you have to use, feel free to change something if you want it. So put under on Kyogre maybe, protect on Tornadus. Let's see Among Us if you want to make it Cova Berry or Riace or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You can change the Incineroar spread and the moves. Snarly it was for Calyrex, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for coming on for the video, guys. Guys, we will be back again with videos, obviously, in the next few days. Big thank you to Genius, obviously, for coming on. So thank you again for coming on and obviously, letting us know a little bit more about your team. The rental code will be down below as well, along with the paste. Obviously, the paste is in front of you anyways. And yeah, we'll make sure to do that. And make sure to let me know in the comments, in the description, what you guys would like to see next. Thank you again, Genius, for coming on, just telling us a little bit about your team. Super appreciate it. But yeah, thank you guys again, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.